Easy Cater did a hell of a job.
Facts.
They had 3 amazing panels or sessions. I don't know what it was. The Catering Growth Forum, to me, it was one of the best events I've been to. Even so, it was like a half day, but still
all inclusive.
Data review, talking to incredible operators who really take catering seriously, and then talking to customers about what they expect from catering in general, ordering, menus, you name it. I mean, it was honestly probably one of my greatest days ever, man.
Catering is our fastest growing business. Our fastest growing business is catering. That is making us just lean into it and build the best catering system out there. So we do great ordering, engagement, loyalty, and catering is our most popular product. We're going all in on it.
It is very clear that offering food at work is drawing people into the office, especially in hybrid work environments. So you're working at home a few days a week or coming to the office a few days a week.
Normally at conferences, you kind of have point in time conversations, which are great, don't get me wrong. But when you're in this run, you can have follow-ups, and that's amazing because it's when you get to sit down and have a beer with somebody at the end of the day and actually talk about their business and figure out what they want to do. Being able to follow up on that 2 weeks later at NRA in Chicago, unbelievable.
Whether they're between jobs, whether you have a full-time job but want to be able to supplement that income, you do it on your time and terms. And we've seen that flexibility is why people come to us, and we've seen like high amounts of earner activations, of course.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the DeliveringMore platform. We have an amazing show to get to today. Thank you for consuming the content morning, afternoon, or evening. As always, we love you. If you could, hit that subscribe button down below. That's going to help us out more than you could ever know. Before we get to the show, we have an amazing sponsorship for this week's episode. On Trend Concepts, hosting the Ghost Kitchen and Virtual Restaurant Conference in Houston, Texas, July 7th and 8th at the George R. Brown Convention Center in Houston, Texas. Folks, they've got speakers like Nabeel from Lunchbox, Meredith Sandland, Empower Delivery, and our Deliver That founder, Aaron Hoffman, all speaking at this event. If you're a restaurant operator, if you're a franchisee, if you're part of the corporate group, you do not want to miss this conference. Come join us to learn about all things Ghost Kitchen Virtual Restaurant, and I'm sure we're going to be there to have a wonderful time. This week's episode is a big one, folks. We have a review of the Food on Demand conference. Man, it was a hell of a time. Let me say, Las Vegas, Nevada, it was my first time in the city. It was absolutely unbelievable. What an event at the Cosmopolitan Hotel, hosted by Food on Demand, the Easy Cater Catering Growth Forum. We'll talk about that a good bit throughout the podcast here. We'll kick things off with myself and Aaron, touch on that a little bit, as well as Erle Dardick, Alan Hickey of Vromo, Nabeel from Lunchbox, and Brandi Villareal from Uber Eats. It's going to be a great show, folks. I hope you tune around, stick it out, watch the whole thing, listen to the whole thing, whether you're on Spotify, YouTube, what have you. Thank you so much for consuming the content again, and let's kick it over to myself and Aaron on site at Food on Demand. All right, let's roll it. We are live from Food on Demand 2023. We are in Las Vegas, Nevada, folks, May 3rd.
Ben, it's been a great day, man. I mean, already first day of the conference.
It's been wild. I think the focus on catering out of the gate was obviously a big play for us. I think that's obviously a major catalyst into our talking points throughout the conference. But get a little choked up there. I wanted to start from the beginning.
Okay.
Unless, do you have more to say from there?
Before we even get into like the actual nitty-gritty part, Easy Cater did a hell of a job.
Facts.
They had 3 amazing panels or sessions. I don't know what it was. The Catering Growth Forum, to me, it was one of the best events I've been to. Even so, it was like a half day, but still
all inclusive.
Data review, talking to incredible operators who really take catering seriously, and then talking to customers about what they expect from catering in general, ordering, menus, you name it. I mean, it was honestly probably one of my greatest days ever, man.
We got our first special guest.
He crashed.
We got our first special guest.
I'm gonna
Hold on. What's the score?
Wow.
What's the play? Who scored the first goal?
What do you mean? Hockey?
I thought we were talking
The
about
Golden Knights do play tonight. Are you a hockey guy?
All right, we gotta introduce we have to introduce.
Yeah,
man
this is
man of the hour right now.
This is almost, some would say, my white whale of guests at some point in time. I've been reaching out to this gentleman for quite a while. I'm very appreciative of his time. Erle Dardick.
Earl. Yeah, here, I'm gonna get up. You can take a seat.
Oh,
man. No.
okay, all right.
You're
all
sitting down. You're talking
What do you want?
catering.
Okay, what do you want to talk about?
Get in there,
All right,
man.
Ben.
All right. I'll start. I went for the handshake. Aaron
Good
kind
to
of
see you,
blocked it
Ben.
out. Yeah, great to see you. I appreciate you being here. Aaron and I were just kind of leading off the discussion about the event itself,
Yes.
and obviously talking about the emphasis on catering from the get-go.
Yeah.
I think, to me, it's very important that a lot of these things are brought to light, especially the end consumer focus. That panel they had, Mike talking about how to actually, generate business out of your catering and everything like that. How did you feel the beginning of this conference has started off?
Yeah,
How's
well-
it kicked off?
Well, thanks for asking, Ben. I think, I really enjoyed this morning's session, the Catering Growth Conference.
Yes.
Because, to me, catering has always been an opportunity across food service that is not well understood, especially in the restaurant space. And so I really was impressed, really, with the work that Mike did this morning and the team, David, and sharing the data and setting it up for what is really a key strategy that I think Easy Cater is driving, which is really smart, is this food at work movement.
For sure.
Because it's not just catering, it's actually, I think the conversation is moving into the business to business channel, which is more than just catering. So for example, we know during the pandemic, cafeterias closed down, companies like Sodexo and Aramark, they backed off their contracts. And so this left a huge gap for what is food at work, and getting people to come back, and the fact they're working at home, and how do you get them to come back to the office. So I was fascinated by the conversation of how things are really the same as they always were, but the pandemic shifted things.
Right.
And I thought that was exciting because it's a huge market.
There was something mentioned in the CEO roundtable. It was like Stefania, Steph Sollers, Noah, I think, and he said something along the lines of the first question they talked about was how after the pandemic, there's been a supposed decline in the economy, right? Like the interest rates, all these things are spiking, and they're talking about how they thought delivery was going to deplete, right? The end consumer would be, this is the first thing to go. We can't afford food delivery prices. The convenience, whether it's good, whether it's not, it's just not affordable at this point in time. And they're talking about how it's still there. How do you feel like that was something? Was that what you expected? Did you expect for the food delivery business to, like Stefani said something along the lines of they were back to pre-COVID numbers, their business revenue.
Yeah.
So was that anticipated for you? Is that something you thought
I
you
think,
would
yeah,
see?
I've seen it before. When I had my deli, way back in the years, and
deli.
the deli. I mean, and over the years with many customers and the downturns that were in the economy, it always came back stronger when it came back.
Right.
And so it doesn't surprise me at all. And I think, this is the real lesson for caterers or for people that are running restaurants that are doing catering and business to business. There are cycles. It is dependent on sort of what the economy is doing or world events can have an impact. And it can be a sharp decline, but it does come back. And when it does, it comes back stronger for those who are prepared to invest and who have invested and have the infrastructure and know how to do it. In terms of delivery demand softening, I think what's really important that the industry have a conversation around the differences between the business-to-business delivery channels and the consumer-based delivery channels. Those are very different curves. And so, consumers, when they're squeezed or, the economy's rough, interest rates are rising, they're watching expenses, you may see a slowdown on delivery because it's a convenience-based luxury item. People start saying, well, instead of going and deliver, I'll just go to the restaurant and pick it up myself.
Right.
But on the business-to-business channel, which of course is what Stefania was talking about, it's a whole different demand curve, which is really, the delivery is essential to getting the food on site, and having food on site is essential for keeping your employees engaged in this day and age.
How do you feel that that's been their marketing play as of late? I love the Food at Work campaign. Has been amazing. I've loved it since they thought of the idea. I saw the original ads on LinkedIn, stuff like that. Do you think they've done a good job of utilizing that to influence basically these businesses to utilize their service to bring their workers back into the office, and then obviously keep them sustained, keep them happy, keep them there longer term? They're talking about how it reduces turnover rates, things like that. How do you think they've done it building that into the fray.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, David Mosman shared the data today.
Right.
We can see the data is clear. Is that
Yeah.
there's this experience where it is very clear that offering food at work is drawing people into the office, especially in hybrid work environments. So you're working at home a few days a week or coming to the office a few days a week. Feeding them is absolutely critical to the strategy of making that happen.
Yeah. I think I'd actually never met David previously. I met him very, very briefly. I think I want to go back a little bit for you. I know we're here to talk about food on demand, the event and everything, but I love your story. And obviously you've been in the food industry, the restaurant industry for, your entire career. I think, I don't know if you did anything pre the restaurant, but what was your first delve into the restaurant business? Did you grow up as like a waiter or a
No.
cook in a kitchen or anything like that?
No, my first, I love to eat.
Yeah,
Who
facts.
doesn't? But my first entry into restaurant space was when I got involved in Tony's Deli back in 1996, and
Tony's.
that deli was distressed, and I was a customer, and I was a young entrepreneur trying to find a new project, and the gentleman that owned Tony's at the time invited me in to come in and start doing some consulting to help him. And after a few days of being there, I got a knock on the door from Revenue Canada that this gentleman was behind on his tax filings.
Taxes, that'll get you.
And it was a distressed business that I got involved in and started the process of, refinancing it, getting involved, fixing it. And I wasn't a retailer. So the idea of retail was foreign to me. And so I started, business to business was my experience.
Right.
And so I started doing catering out the back door, and we were taking orders by hand. And then the point of sale wouldn't work.
What that's interesting. You bring that up. How you guys used to take orders, and the order taking has really since. Now we're in the 2020s. Now we're talking about having AI robots take orders over the phone. How beneficial do you think having things like that during your time at Tony's? Would that have been great benefits to you, having things like other operating systems to take phone calls, anything like that?
Well, now you're dating me, because in those days, if you had a domain name, tonysdeli.com,
you're already ahead of
this
the
was
curve.
a static web page.
Right.
All it had was a menu. It had no functionality at all.
Right. No online ordering.
Nothing.
No nothing. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So we were taking orders by hand. We'd make an invoice in QuickBooks. We'd write it in delivery logbook. We had 3 paper copies.
Yeah.
And there was a web developer in my building doing web-based animation at the time. And we started working on Tony's Deli, and we built this back end. We rented web space because we couldn't afford a server. And we just started building functions. And then after a period of time, we had this operating system that was living in the cloud. And then we were taking orders and keying them in, and invoices, receivables, production, delivery, all that was in there.
What this is kind of a random question, but we often like joke about how like we do a thing called driver spotlights, where we like highlight drivers on their platform, how they and their time in like the gig economy as a whole, right? As a DoorDash driver, Uber Eats driver, whatever it is, all these drivers operate on so many platforms. But we always joke about how we can never find, like, if they were a driver pre like 2020, we always have a difficult time getting their accurate numbers on total deliveries taken and total food costs delivered, because like that's so pre-tech before us, before we're keeping track of data, things like that. How was do you find that like intriguing at all when you're talking about logbook this, logbook that? Like how are things with you guys running that business?
For me, it was like there's fundamental processes that you run in your workflow in any business. And I grew up in the time when, accounting was ledgers, there was, computers, like, you're a different generation, so your generation doesn't understand those manual processes. But if you have a good base understanding of the fundamentals of the manual stuff, and you build it into the technology, then you understand why fundamentally it works.
For sure.
Because the fundamentals are sound. I was just talking with Catherine. We were just talking about, she's at Bagel Brands for many years, and I was thinking back, and Einstein's, that was my first enterprise customer in 2007.
I gotta stop you just because this is wild. My first time with Deliver That, I went with Aaron's older brother Dan. We went and sales pitched in Einstein Bagels in Akron, Ohio.
Oh, that's so funny.
It went so bad, but
yeah.
Continue.
So that's 2007. So what are we? 16 years later.
Yeah, that math adds up.
11 leadership changes. They've been acquired and so on and so on, and they're still using the software that I
Wow.
helped to implement with their team and design from Tony's Deli.
Right.
And to me, that's fascinating because I didn't grow up in a tech world. This was
Just built it out of necessity.
Yeah, it was a manual process, and just we were able to somehow take that manual process and code it and get the right keystrokes to be able to collect the right data.
Right.
The magic is in the design of the database, and then the way that database relates to each other to provide the user with the information they need to execute and see what they want to see.
That's super. Yeah, that's super intriguing. How do you feel then? So obviously commenting on such a massive brand.
Yeah.
And who's Einstein's parent company?
So now it's Bagel Brands.
Bagel Brands, right?
Yeah.
You said that. So thinking about such a massive entity like that, still relying on tech from a decade ago.
I know.
Is that why you think I wish let me get his name. Savneet from Partech in that CEO roundtable. He said something along the lines of he thinks the tech realm has had a flourish over the last 5 years, but they haven't given it back to the restaurants as much. Do you feel like that is poignant to maybe there's been such a huge focus on tech, but these OG brands who've always been around, it's still so hard to integrate with them, so hard to get it up and running, it can become a major difficulty.
There's a lot of legacy infrastructure that's very difficult to
right.
remove.
You have to either just completely get rid of it, or you
yeah.
can't build around it a lot of times.
And I would say, even the tech that the code is aging. I would imagine that, Easy Cater is doing an amazing job at maintaining it, at updating it, at investing in it. If you're in the software business, this is what you have. It's organic. It's changing every day.
Yeah.
It ages quickly, especially with all the competition and everything that's coming in. And I think ultimately, they're constantly reinvesting back in. So whoever is the caretaker now of this software must be doing a great job with it because it's still going.
Yeah.
And people aren't switching out, which means the solution is sticky and it works. They don't have a lot of incentive to change it because it's working for them.
Yeah. Hey, whatever works.
Yeah, right. So we'll see what the future brings. I don't know,
Right.
but I don't see the fundamentals of the transaction changing. It's fundamental. It's
Yeah.
you take an order, you need certain data points, you got to generate an invoice, you got to carry receivable, you got to do production, you got to do delivery, you got to have salespeople, you got to do follow-ups, you got to deal with issues. So fundamentally, it hasn't shifted, but the details maybe are changing.
Yeah.
Or the tech that's available to help facilitate is changing, but. So it'll be interesting to see what happens through automation and AI in the next number of years.
What is automation and AI? What about what do you think then about the possibilities of further consolidation within tech within this business realm? Is that, I think it's been talked about here quite a bit.
Yeah, that's going to keep
inevitable?
happening. Yeah, the big ones need to get bigger. They're going to have to acquire to compete. They can't build everything. It's why I love this industry. There's so much innovation. And I love the small software companies. Everybody's in the software business now. Even you guys are in it. So it's but ultimately, how do you get to scale? How do you create a standard? Those are the big questions. That takes a lot of investment. It's very difficult to do. But I think ultimately, the bigger tech companies are going to be watching that, and they will continue to acquire solutions that make sense to complement and be synergistic to what their core offerings are. Because they have to get bigger. There's no other way for them to compete.
Food on Demand, day 2. We're back in the building. D, what's up, buddy?
Hey, fella. What's up, lad? Hold the mic. I'm actually on right now.
we're
Okay.
we're live and
I
going.
get paid by the minute for this segment.
Folks, I have a now reoccurring guest on the platform.
I know. I'm a regular.
Alan Hickey, Romo, you just got out of your panel. I'm looking up the name here so I don't get it wrong. Building your Omni fleet and hybrid delivery operation.
Yes. Sounds very complicated.
You had some great names, though. Yeah, I had Brandi, Kelly. How do you Moen?
Moen, I think.
Moen
Yeah.
Ship Day. Yeah. Right across from us right now. Yeah. How do you think it went?
I think it was good. We work really closely with Toast and Uber. Obviously not Chip Day. So everybody kind of knew each other's business relatively well. And so it was more talking about how we really work together every day then kind of new topics or
Right.
curveballs. So yeah, no, it was great. It was a good panel, really well attended actually.
What
So-
I've never been on a panel or anything myself. How much planning like goes into those panels? Like for the pod, like I'm like emailing you like 2 days before, like, hey, here's a list of 6 questions. We might talk about them, we might not. It might not even come up for a second. But like how much like back end work actually goes into that to make it happen?
So to be fair, so Carl Osborne was our moderator.
Yeah.
He actually runs a pretty tight ship. So he had us on 2 calls that I missed both of them, and I know he's given me an awful lot of stick for. So yeah, we kind of ran through topics, questions, and then he opened it up 2 questions I think yesterday. So there was a couple of kind of preloaded ones, but you can over prep for those things as well. Like I think when restaurants and folks are giving you their time, they kind of want to see it in real time as well, like what you're thinking, how you react. So yeah, a bit of prep, but not like I don't break my back over it.
I think too. It's interesting that you say that. I think too. There's like I don't know. You heard this phrase, like the analysis paralysis of it all. Like if he gives you that list of questions and you sit there and you're like, all right, well, if I answer this, Brandi might be able to lead into this, and then Kelly can lead into that, and the next thing, then you get there and you try to answer the question, you're like, oh wait, I didn't say anything I planned for. Like next thing you know, it's just like nothing you expected. So I agree with that. I think
I have some talking points, like get some numbers, some interesting statistics, but certainly like the way I relay messages to folks is more storytelling, and it's like, okay, here's an example of something that we did, and you can probably relate to it. So how much prep goes into that? I think it's probably just experience.
It's what you do every day, so it's not difficult to talk about.
Exactly.
What about Vroma specifically? I think last time we talked, you were telling me about how you're about to bring on U.S. employees. Is that would that be like the way to phrase it?
So like I think one of the things that we focused on was like 85-90% of our client base is in the US. So we're now 24-hour 365 US based support. Those guys are here on the ground, which is awesome. It's really been a big benefit to our customers because they can get us on the phone instantly. And then we have escalation criteria. So our CTO or VP of technology can end up on a call eventually if needs be. And then from a sales and kind of customer outreach perspective, we started to build out that team. So latest hire is Henry Inga. He's a super dude. So he's looking after our kind of SMB mid-market approach. And we're going to continue to grow that team out as well over time. So it's exciting. It's great.
Oh yeah, that's amazing. And I know too, you guys, I think like I'm maybe even like last week relaunched the website. Correct?
Yes,
that was like in the past couple weeks?
This is Rome certainly wasn't built in a day.
Yeah, it's true. I know this has been like a very big undertaking for you guys.
My God. And like to be fair, this was very much with Brian, our CEO, and Adriana, who's our head of marketing, and Shannon, who's on the marketing team. They put in a huge amount of effort.
Yeah, Shannon.
I'm like, behind the scenes work, that's where there's a lot of prep. Like colors, tone of voice, context, where buttons are and trigger points are. My God,
how do we get them from A to B quicker?
Yeah, it's a science,
more efficient. Like, it's a website, dude.
Yeah, they did. They absolutely crushed it. They did a brilliant job, and I think it looks great. We've gotten pretty good feedback from it too, which is great.
Hell yeah, we're actually. This doesn't need to like be private or anything, but we're doing a similar thing right now. Not redoing the entire website, but like the branding aspect of it, trying to like redo, like you said, like. Where is like how quickly do they see a button that says sign up? Like is that like subconsciously, if you see it right away, does that make you click on it later? Like all that like weird stuff that you're like, wait, like that's how you make it. That's how you make a good website. I just thought you put information about the company. Like, that's what we're talking about.
Turns out that's actually the last thing you consider. It's all the other stuff that you have to consider. So certainly not my bag, but the guys crushed it. They absolutely crushed it.
Hell yeah. What about your were you was your trip from Ireland to here? Were you in the States before this?
No, so at the moment it's kind of every second week. So we were at RLC in Phoenix, then I went home, then back out weeks for this NRA in a couple of weeks. I think myself and Brian are going to be in Oakland then first week in June. So like for whatever reason, April, May, June is like conference mania, and it's every 2 weeks. Like I would urge everybody, can we spread it out a little bit? Like let's do one in October and one in February. It'd be amazing. But yeah, it's just like it's wild at the moment. But do you know what? It's good because normally at conferences you kind of have point in time conversations. which are great, don't get me wrong. But when you're in this run, you can have follow-ups, and that's amazing because, you know, conferences are great and the stands. This looks unbelievable, by the way. But it's when you get to sit down and have a beer with somebody at the end of the day and actually talk about their business and figure out what they want to do. Being able to follow up on that 2 weeks later at NRA in Chicago, unbelievable. So, like, there is benefits, even though it's a bit of a pain.
I didn't necessarily consider like the follow-up aspect about, because I think Christian and I were talking yesterday, and I was like, I find it kind of odd, like you said, that these conferences are so back to back out of the gate. Excuse me, because from my perspective, it's like, all right, like the conversations that happen at Food on Demand, like what conversation is going to happen different in 2 weeks? You know what I mean? Like the conversation you have here is probably going to be the same conversation you have with someone at a booth in 2 weeks at NRA or 2 weeks ago at RLC. So like the only difference, I think, like what you said, is when you have to like peel people away from this side of it. And like you said, like you got to go out to dinner, you got to sit down, talk, like, all right, like we did our show part of it. Now let's actually have a conversation.
And like, I think, you know, in this industry, sometimes we can forget, like, our client base are hospitality people, right? So they like that interaction, they like that FaceTime, and they like the engagement. Where we've gotten to, though, and this is probably off the back of like partnerships like Toast and Square, we can actually move the number pretty quickly now. So we can have a conversation today, get a test environment set up, run a couple of test orders, and in 2 weeks' time have a conversation about this is how it works for your brand, and we've brought in the folks from Toast and brought in the folks from Flip Dish, and this is your tech stack. And that's amazing, because now you're not talking hypothetically, you're talking about this is you.
Yeah,
like,
this is your place.
Yeah, right. which is awesome too. But honestly, I think at these shows, it's more, and we all felt it in COVID, like not having face-to-face time was a nightmare.
It's detrimental.
And like, okay, can you do it on a Zoom? For sure, but you're not building relationships, you're not building friendships, and you know, from our perspective in our space, and you guys get this too, I could have a conversation with a brand today, absolutely kick it off, and you know, be super tight, and then they turn around and say, but we're not ready to buy for 9-12 months. Now, what do? Do we not talk to them for 9 or 12 months, or do we foster a relationship for 9 or 12 months, so when they are ready to sign, we're best buds, and like this is a foregone conclusion? And I think that's where we get a huge amount of value out of coming to shows, because you get to build that ecosystem and relationships. Yeah,
I think it's wild. I think I talk about like Zach Oates. He's been on the pod, and I know you know of Zach. He's like someone like that. He's literally at every single event. Like even the RLCs, the NRAs, the Food on Demands of the world. He's at like like there like a couple weeks ago. There's like the National Pizza Convention. And he's there. He's putting out content. It's just like, damn, dude. Like what?
Mr. Conference.
Yeah, it's wild.
Well, like if I had hair like that, to be fair.
Like,
and it's not shabby,
honestly,
but mother of God,
the glasses and the smile, dude, for me too.
It's like a L'Oreal advert.
Yeah,
like
it's unbelievable.
Yeah, I don't know what Ovation do, but that guy's got great hair and great shirts too. Like, jeez, no, Zach's brilliant, and like I meet Zach all the time, and there's a good example. Like, will Ovation and Vromo ever do business together? Probably not together, but I've referred people to him. He's referred people to me. We've built an unbelievable friendship, and like it's a good example because he's a good, solid dude, and I wouldn't know him. We would never cross paths.
You have no reason to.
No,
right?
No. Good example, actually.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, the conference scene to me, I know Darian and Aaron kind of sometimes get sick of like all the travel and stuff, but like to me, like this is it. I'm like juiced up, ready to go. Like when these things are happening, I'm like, yo, like I can't wait to be out there, see everyone, meet everyone. Especially now too. It's like I'm meeting. So I started the podcast in January 2021.
Yeah.
So COVID was like ongoing at that moment, and I've met probably at least 10 people I've had on the podcast virtually.
Yeah.
Where I'm
for
like,
the first time.
You can go back and watch it. Steph Sollers, we just talked like 20 minutes ago. Met her in person. Jeff, we talked about a while about Atul, Sud, Kitchen United, like Carl, or I haven't seen Carl in person yet, but like there's so many people where I'm like so excited now. Actually, not put a face to the name because you've seen them, but give them a hug, give them a handshake. Yeah. Say what's up, get a beer. Yeah. You're like, all right, we're like real people.
Yeah, exactly. Not just a talking head on a Zoom call.
Yeah.
No, I'm the same, man. And it's awesome as well because getting to know people like that, and by like that I mean like how they engage, how they, like to interact, allows you then to have better Zoom calls as well. Like, it's not like, oh, I have to see you face to face every time. It's like, no, okay, now I get your vibe and I know what you're. So our Zoom calls will be more productive now.
Now, like if you wake up and you're like, sure, I'll be like, oh, you just didn't have your coffee. You're not actually that pissed at me. Exactly. Have some
I know who you are.
You have context to like the
for
person
sure.
and the individual. That's wild. What you got a lot on the schedule today? Are you in a rush?
Busy today. So just came off the panel and that was great. So we've got a couple of meetings this afternoon. Easy Cater, a couple of our restaurant potential partners, future clients, hopefully. And then this evening going out for some dinner with some partners.
Oh yeah.
And then the long flight home tomorrow.
How long is the flight?
So Vegas to Seattle will be about 2.5 hours.
You have to.
And then I've got a 4-hour layover in Seattle, and then it is 11 from Seattle to Dublin. And then I land and I do it all again in 10 days.
I never, if you asked me how you get from Las Vegas to Ireland, I never in my mind would have been like, oh, you gotta go to Seattle.
Yeah, you don't have to. You can go Chicago, New York, Philly, but like the variance in time is maybe 40 minutes. So
okay.
Being very budgetary conscious, we just kind of grab the cheapest one we can.
Sometimes that's what you gotta do.
Yeah.
Day 2, our first day 2 surprise guest. Nabeel, Lunchbox. This
Hi.
is big time.
I look camera, I don't know. I've not done this before. What am I doing?
The seating
I'm usually on Zoom. I'm like so comfortable on
the
Zoom.
seating is kind of awkward. I just
No, I like it.
turn in a little bit to
Yeah.
the people looking
Okay.
at them. We'll
Awesome.
see how it looks in the end product. But,
Okay.
we're coming off a big dinner last night.
Great dinner. Great time.
Momofuku. Is that how
Momofuku,
you
yeah.
pronounce
Yeah,
it?
yeah. We had some awesome food.
What I heard we were ordering the whole menu. What was your favorite item last night that you tasted? That
My
you ate?
favorite item was the company. The company and the food was amazing. The bun, the pork belly buns.
Okay.
Oh my god, amazing.
Yeah.
I put some in my pocket. I have some in my pocket right now.
Were they like bao buns?
Bao buns.
Hell
So
yeah.
good, so good. Amazing food, amazing time. We had some awesome people come to deliver it. Deliver that. Team came. Aaron showed up, made a guest appearance. It was
Hell yeah.
awesome. It was nice. It was great to just hang out with friends and just talk and chill out.
I wanted to ask specifically about you guys posted again. I think maybe you did specifically about your guys' catering product.
Yeah.
Yesterday on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Obviously, yesterday to start off the show was the Catering Growth Forum.
Yeah.
How important? It's like conversations we've had here, catering, obviously, for us to be at a conference where the first topic of conversation is catering.
Yeah.
It's like, oh shit.
It's the Godfather.
Right.
Sorry. I was watching him, and I was like the Godfather. That's do you know that gentleman over there?
Erle?
Earl. Yeah,
Earl,
you know
yeah.
Earl. Earl is obviously the creator of Monkey Media.
Yeah, MSI.
The Godfather of catering. I had breakfast with him this morning. He's wonderful. I got to learn so much from him. Catering is our fastest growing business. Our fastest growing business is catering. Folks who are on, let's say, one of our competitors, Olo, wonderful system. Folks who are like, hey, I'm on Olo right now. I'm happy. I'm not sure if I want web ordering or app ordering, but I still want your catering ordering. Is the message we're receiving from a lot of folks. That is making us just lean into it and build the best catering system out there. So we do great ordering, engagement, loyalty, and catering is our most popular product. We're going all in on it, and that's why a huge part of why we are excited to partner up with DeliverThat and publicly announce it soon. I think by this point it should be public, if not
for sure.
Public soon. But we love what you guys are doing, because you guys are making it easier for us to go ahead and go into catering. Ordering is just a little bit behind catering, and it's mostly because the dispatch and the delivering of it is still not clear. The logistics is not clear, and you guys have done a wonderful job making that clear. So we're going all in on catering, and with partners such as yourself to go ahead and really go out there and help restaurants. A restaurant gets 5 catering orders a week. It's a different business. And we want to make that difference together.
Yeah, that's factually that's just a statement anyone can get behind. What a company like Lunchbox we talked about on our previous interview on the pod.
Did that come out yet? It's coming out.
Oh, actually, it hasn't released. This will actually end up coming out before.
This will come out before that.
Maybe
Oh, wow.
actually,
Cool.
That's
the timeline.
That's our.
It's more confusing than the Marvel.
Actually, I think it'll go out,
Multiverse.
I think it'll go out back to back. Actually, I think
Okay.
you go out next week.
Okay.
And Food on Demand goes out 2 weeks after that.
Okay.
So
Awesome.
yeah, it's actually it might be out by the time people watch this. But
Yeah.
a company like you guys, where you guys are so. I don't want to like pinpoint this on you, but you guys seem very like product focused. You
Yeah.
have to be, right? Like what can we offer to this industry?
Yeah.
What super random question to ask, but like what has been the hardest thing to build for you guys?
Yeah.
Is it like you said, catering super important, but is that a solution for that difficult to build, or is it just like someone actually has to focus on it, and once you put a couple minds to it, it can get done?
I think things that are hard to build are, listen, customers are the most important resources to building a roadmap. The problem is sometimes customer will describe the problem to you. Sometimes they'll describe the solution to you. Sometimes the solutions are correct. Sometimes the solutions are not the right solution. And that is difficult to understand because customers are giving you invaluable feedback. But and they're trying to problem solve for you. But you need to go ahead and do a better job of seeing if that's the best solution for it, right? So you need to, instead of harping on the solution, you need to harp on the problem. Harp on the problem and find out from first principle on how quickly you can solve it. That is the hardest problem for tech companies, which is to understand are these problems, because we're not in these restaurants, right? We are not operators, right? I was a former operator, so I try to sympathize with restaurants a little bit, but even I have lost touch with exactly the day-to-day pain points operators are facing. So as we try to solve problems for them, we need to realize that our job is to be the tech solution. Their job is to describe the problem. When you let operators describe the solution, you sometimes are under-engineering or over-engineering, and sometimes it is spot on. Sometimes you're doing that, and that is the hardest thing to do, which is, understand the problem and solve it appropriately and not over-engineer or under-engineer it.
What I know you've kind of spoke to this previously as well. You're like tech companies building like lazy tech. I think that's what you said in our last sit down. And I think I was looking up his name, Savneet from Par Technology. He was on CEO Roundtable yesterday. I loved that roundtable.
He's amazing. He's been so supportive of us at Lunchbox. He's a wonderful leader.
Yeah, it was a great conversation. But I think he said something along the lines of like the benefit tech companies have gotten in the last like 5 years has been so great, and like the promises made to restaurants he felt it hasn't like actually been fulfilled.
Yeah, I think it's
kind of
correct.
what he said.
I think it's correct. I think, listen, what did we receive the last 5 years? We've received incredible amount of valuation and capital to go ahead and do what? To respond and deliver, and we didn't, right? If you just look at AI alone, look at all the industries that has benefited from AI already. It's been, 5 weeks,
Right.
10 weeks? How many weeks has AI dropped?
2023, yeah.
And it already has benefited so many industry. What has it done for restaurants so far, right? Because the tech is incredible. The tech is going to go ahead and be a game changer. There's no stopping it. Have we adopted it in a similar way? No, I don't think so. I think we have not done enough to go ahead and be recipients of all that capital. And I think Savneet is correct. We need to deliver. We need to do a lot of hard work. I think lazy tech is still, having loyalty program that is spend 100, get 10 back.
Yeah.
That's lazy tech, right? I think we're far from that. I think a lot of other industries moved far from that to understand their guest, and I think we need to do the same. And we haven't done that as an ecosystem. And I'm excited for Lunchbox to hopefully be a meaningful partner in moving that conversation forward. But even we have a lot of work to do. So I'm excited to do the work.
This is super random as well, but just while you're talking, it ran through my mind. I went to Best Buy like last week to get this camera that we're recording on, and we had to change some things over. Whatever, how I purchased it was kind of fluky because we have like a company account there, blah blah. So I had to change some things over. And I called Best Buy's like 800 number, and it answers, and it was like, "Hi Ben, we see you've had 2 orders in the past 3 weeks."
How amazing was that?
Well, it's unbelievable.
How amazing was that?
My thinking initially was I was like, wait, Best Buy's doing this, but
not
the Italian restaurant down the road isn't taking reservations that way. It's not answering the phone saying, "Hey Ben, thanks for stopping in last
16
Wednesday
times total
for your wedding anniversary.
Yeah,
come in this week and we'll give you 25% off that calamari you love."
I think you still experience that magical thing, those magical moments at a one-off, but how do we scale that? when it's not the owner operator in the restaurant cleaning the restaurant every day and working the grill every day and doing the payroll every day. How do we go ahead and scale that? I think that's the conversation. That's the gap between in-store and out-of-store that we're trying to bridge, right? But you're absolutely correct. I think the number of things restaurants can do to go ahead and bring the human aspect of it back, even when it's digital, is incredible. So we're trying to do that. We're trying to go ahead and give you a reason to download the app instead of using Grubhub and DoorDash and Uber Eats, because those apps they work perfectly fine. But so what? They don't have the same margins and benefit to restaurants. So we're excited to make an impact there.
We have the newest surprise guest at our Food on Demand episode of Delivering More. Brandi Villareal? Villareal. Okay, double wrong. It's a tough start for me. Villareal. What nationality?
I'm Mexican American.
Mexican American. Okay,
Yes.
okay. Where's your family from? Where were you born? Where'd you grow up?
So I was born in Dallas. My family had a Tex-Mex restaurant in there, so that was my first introduction to
Okay.
the restaurant business. But my family has roots in northern Mexico as well as in central areas of Texas. Since
That's super interesting. That's actually I love that you brought that up, because one of my initial questions is usually how so like I like to say, anyone who's in the restaurant industry, I know other people say this all the time too, but like, if you're in it now, you've probably been in it your whole life. Like I grew up, my first job ever was a dishwasher at Corky's Cafe in our hometown. So like like you said, your family had a restaurant growing up. So was that your first job? Were you like in the back doing dishes, cooking, doing whatever to help them out?
Walking delivery orders over to the gas station, getting $1 or $2 in tips, dropping my first tray of dishes when I was about 7 years old. Not child labor if it's your family, but also a lot of love getting into it.
A thing? That's crazy. What was the name of the restaurant?
It was called Saucedas and Tex-Mex. So there were breakfast tacos, which were very popular. They also made menudo on the weekends. Brisket is a staple. So brisket tacos, brisket enchiladas,
Dang.
flautas, tons of different items.
That sounds so good. I'm also so hungry right now, so it's not helpful at all. I appreciate you telling me about that. What was your time did you have time within the restaurant industry for your first job outside of a family business?
Yes. So while I was in college at the University of Michigan, I worked at Einstein Brothers as a cashier, worked at a great German restaurant called the Heidelberg, slinging, different items, lots of cabbage. It's German, of course. And then after college, some friends and I started a smoothie business. So we were actually vending smoothies and fruit cups at music festivals around the country.
That's super cool. I want to backtrack a little bit. How does a Texas girl go to University of Michigan? How does that happen?
On a debate scholarship, actually.
Interesting.
So I debated in high school, looked at a few different major universities for debate, and then ended up going to Michigan.
Are they like a notorious good debate team?
Great debate organization. Really? My friend Aaron's currently the director of debate. They were just runners up in the finals this year.
Yeah.
Have had tons of great performance over the last decade.
Amazing. What this is, I don't even know how to ask this question, but I'm just trying to get through it. My brain will work it out. What's like your favorite debate topic? Are there like consistent topics every debate, or is each debate like a new thing? Does that make sense?
So the type of debate that I was in, there would be an annual topic, and that varied from things like what should our foreign policy with Russia be to what should we do to improve oceans or to take sustainability measures in the end. And so there's an annual topic, which means there's a lot of research by each of the teams to understand what they can support and go against.
That's crazy. I feel like that's probably so much prep work too, and then you just get on the spot and you're like, I'm hoping I don't blank out here.
Exactly. Lots of prep, lots of research, teamwork, late nights. It was fun.
Yeah, that's crazy. So University of Michigan debate team. What did you do out of school? Did you get right back into the? You said you had the smoothie business
right after, and then from there, I actually ended up in fine dining in Kentucky for a few years at a James Beard nominated restaurant.
Nice.
I was a front of house manager. Started as a server. It was just part time while I was considering law school or what would be next after undergrad, and ended up loving it. I didn't even know how to open a bottle of wine when I first started at the restaurant.
I still don't know how to open a bottle of wine.
Oh, I'm an expert now.
That's amazing. And then so you're in Kentucky, that timeline. What about what years are we talking then? So how far removed are we from now today?
That was 14 years ago
14.
in Kentucky. I moved to Dallas again in 2011, joined the Gaylord Texan, which is a hotel organization, a few properties nationally, and was managing a restaurant there. And that's how I found my home in food and beverage analytics. My food and beverage director said, "You're very analytical. You would love this software, have a chance to like learn a lot about what's happening within our hotel." And they did a presentation, said they had an office in Dallas, and a little light bulb went off. And I was like, okay, I've been trying to find the route from operations to what's next. And that ended up being food and beverage tech.
That's crazy. That's a super cool story. What and then does that lead us into our time now? How many different positions or companies you go through before we're now at Uber Eats today?
So actually I was with Avero for 8 years. I was the first client facing person in Dallas, building account relationships, even running customer support over the phone, and worked a variety of roles between implementation, customer success, and I was managing our customer success and support org when I finally left there at the end of 2019, which brought me to Uber. So January 2020 is when I started there.
And what were you brought on in the same position you are now?
So no, I've actually had a few evolutions of my role at Uber. One, I was jumping from a much smaller organization, about 150 people, to a giant global org, and wanted a chance to learn about it from the ground up. So I started in a role as a partner manager. So I was directly working with regional brands to help them get started on Uber Eats, building menus, helping them with integration. And no one knew what was around the corner in January of 2020. So really being there at the right moment in time to help a lot of operators.
Yeah, that's I feel like for us it's kind of similar to what we say, like our mantra or whatever is like buy drivers for drivers. So like it's always, I feel like, beneficial to start as fundamental as you can within the business, because then you just understand everything from A to Z. Like, so once you get higher up and you have higher level conversations, you actually still have that full understanding of actually how everything works on the back end.
Absolutely. Like having been in a restaurant,
having
like worked with many different types of teams, at my last organization, Avero, I was usually working with purchasers, operations managers, tons of different roles who were focused on guest experience and reducing cost. And then coming to Uber Eats, marketing, and for those organizations that have dedicated teams off premise, became the main decision makers that we're working directly with.
What how do you, so I mean the delivery realm that we all operate within, right? We're all utilizing the same drivers, same contractors, same gig workers, whatever you want to call them. How do you feel the gig economy as a whole, since like COVID has kind of seen like a little glow up, we'll call it, like a blow up period where it's starting to get super popular. People are finding other ways to earn income and really kind of scheduling their work around when they want to do it, not necessarily like your typical 9 to 5. Have you guys found difficulty in navigating that space? There's like the Prop 22 conversation in California, things like that, trying to reclassify the workers on these platforms. Do you enjoy working within that aspect of things as an independent contractor? How do you feel about that?
So it's been really amazing to see from Uber's perspective, but also what's happening with all of these other companies, what's happened in the labor industry. And we can look back at 2020 and see, of course, the significant impact on the restaurant industry and many others. And that affected people I knew personally, people who had their own catering businesses, who were established like on sets, serving lunch, and really excited about their run of spring and summer shows that had been booked for months in advance. And then they're wondering, what do I do? How do I earn income in this environment? And many of them turn to the Instacarts, the Ubers of the world to say, if restaurants aren't hiring and bringing people in full time today, what can I do in place to gain stability, income, and my own needs in life? And then we've seen so many evolutions of that over the last few years as well. Clearly, as like cities came back to life, people can be back on the road, choosing to move people from place to place rather than delivery orders. That's one aspect of the flexibility, which earning opportunity makes the most sense for you. But I have many friends and family members who leverage Uber as well as other services, and that's because it gives them flexibility, whether they're between jobs, whether you have a full-time job but want to be able to supplement that income, you do it on your time and terms. And we've seen that flexibility is why people come to us, and we've seen like high amounts of earner activations, of course.
Yeah, I think that's we do kind of branching off the podcast, we do something called Driver Spotlights, where a woman in our company named Sade has like sit down with drivers on the platform, and that's like, I think she usually asks like, why do you do gig work? And like the number one like quick answer is always the flexibility. I can see my kids, I can go on vacation, I don't have to call you and ask you to take the day off. I just literally take the day off. Like things like that are so unbelievable, and how the workforce is operating nowadays.
Yeah,
Super interesting.
anything comes up, someone with children, someone with pets, like anything can change in your schedule at any given moment. And it's nice to know you have the flexibility to get what you need done.
Yeah, it's super interesting. What would you say on a day-to-day your work with Uber Eats does or is? Like, what do you actually do on a daily basis?
Of course. So I had previously been on our marketplace team managing national and regional brands on Uber Eats, helping them find and attract new customers. But this year started working with Uber Direct, which is our white label delivery service. We work with top brands to help them deliver items from point A to B, bring e-com to many different industries, including the food industry. But I love that I specialize in that food portion, because so many of the relationships that I've built over the last 3.5 years at Uber have been continued through these conversations. And a way to say it's not just about how you sell on our marketplace, but really your brand, what you're trying to achieve, and how we can help you get there together. And, white label has a different stack ranking for priorities within every single organization. But there's no doubt we've learned about the benefit of an omni-channel experience and being able to meet customers wherever they may be.
What do you guys feel? I mean, like the competition, obviously, you have some major players: DoorDash, Grubhub, Just Eat Takeaway, all these other massive people, all in the same space. What do you feel like is able to be differentiated between the experience that actually will drive consumers to your guys' platform as opposed to someone else?
So on the consumer side or an earner side, just out of curiosity?
So me specifically, I was asking consumer. I guess we could navigate that both ways though. Why would a partner rather be on your platform or utilize it that way as well?
Of course. So on the consumer side, having great restaurant selection is really key to Uber Eats. But there's no doubt that the link to Uber Rides is really significant and important. And we find a majority of our orders coming in from the links in the Rides app. Our new customers are finding us through a mechanism that they are already using Uber. You add new verticals and different platforms to that over the last couple of years as well: convenience, grocery, alcohol delivery, and that turns food delivery from maybe a couple of weeks thing to a daily occurrence if needed. And you add membership to those advantages, the ability to get premium rides, discounts on Eats, discounts on your food delivery as well. And we are finding that all of this has increased frequency of customers and them coming to our platform. But realistically, you come to Uber Eats if you're not sure what's for dinner that night, and we offer you a market to understand and assess which brand you're going to try. And that's been fun, finding restaurants all around my neighborhood that I never otherwise knew existed.
This is kind of related, but what can an Uber driver and an Uber Eats driver, do they have like the same account? Or do they operate two different platforms?
So it's one Uber rider platform or driver platform, and you can open up to which earning opportunities you would like. So do you just want to transport people? Are you comfortable transporting people and food?
You can go back and forth sometimes.
Exactly.
That's super cool.
So I've been on the road, learning about the courier experience, delivering food from restaurant to restaurant to understand more about the operational practice. But I haven't driven a person from place to place, so I make sure that stays on food delivery because that's the aspect of the experience that I really want to understand and be close to for my merchant partners.
Man, what an absolutely unbelievable event Food on Demand put on in Las Vegas, Nevada at the Cosmopolitan Hotel. ezCater Catering Growth Forum, unbelievably executed, so well done. Absolutely love a conference that's going to focus a large aspect of their time on catering. Absolutely an unbelievable avenue for a business like Deliver That to come and be a part of. I just do also want to say thank you so much to Brandi, Alan, Nabeel, Erle. I also spoke to Sean and Amber from ezCater, John from Galley Solutions, Andrew from Medallia. Hopefully those conversations will be released in due time as well. I am so appreciative of everyone who took the time to come by the booth, talk some shop, sit down with me, get to know them a little bit better, have another conversation if it wasn't our first time meeting, and allowing me to take the time to get to know them better if it was our first time meeting, and hopefully presenting those conversations to a larger audience that is palpable and easily consumable and allows you guys to also get to know their businesses and them as well. That's what I'm here to do. And hopefully I'm doing a decent job at providing that. So I do want to give one last shout out to the sponsor of this episode, On Trend Concepts, the Ghost Kitchen and Virtual Restaurant Conference, July 7th and 8th in Houston, Texas at the George R. Brown Convention Center. Folks, speakers like Nabeel from Lunchbox, Meredith Sandland, Aaron Hoffman, Pete Cook of On Trend Concepts obviously will be there. I'll be on site as well, hopefully recording some podcasts on site as well. So if you're going to be at the event, if you didn't plan on coming to the event, take some time out, come see me, come sit down for the podcast, come make some content, come consume some of the speakers and what they have to say in regard to these virtual brands and creating additional avenues to create revenue for you guys' restaurants, for your businesses and things of that nature. So once again, thank you everyone for consuming the content morning, afternoon, or evening. You are so appreciated. I love you guys so much. Subscribe if you haven't already. Set those notifications on to when we release the content so you're the first to see it, first to comment, first to like, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.